What's up guys, Rogue9 here, and I'm back with some more Rainbow Six Siege. As you know, I prioritize my videos based on viewer demand, and up this time the bane of Thatcher's existence...
fucking laser sights.
Exactly, and apparently he doesn't think too much of them at all. So yes, we'll be looking at light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. And yes, that's what laser actually stands for. Look, you've learned something already. So, laser sights in Rainbow Six Siege, are they any good, you ask? Well, in order to be able to answer that, we need to get a precise understanding of the benefits they deliver as well as any potential drawbacks. As always guys, if you trust me implicitly and you really don't care how I came to my conclusions, skip forward to 4 minutes and 23 seconds now, otherwise stick around for a quick insight into the tests I conducted. As we know from the in-game description, the purpose of the laser sight is to increase your hipfire accuracy. So I suppose the best way to test this is to take a variety of different weapons and shoot them at a blank wall, both with the laser sight attached and without it, and see what difference it makes. And as you can see by this example here, it definitely does make a difference. But more importantly, notice how all of the shots without exception fall perfectly within the targeting reticle on screen, and this is great news for me because it might just mean that I don't have to stand here for 5 minutes with every gun twice over shooting at a blank wall to gather my data. I could just use the targeting reticle as a reliable indicator for hipfire accuracy instead. But experience experimenting in Rainbow Six Siege has shown me that we shouldn't always rely on the results from individual samples, so I went ahead and expanded this test to also a submachine gun, a shotgun and a pistol. And good news everyone, in all cases the targeting reticle did in fact prove to be a reliable indicator for hipfire accuracy. Excellent, and with this knowledge it now becomes a simple task to take screenshots of various weapons in various different states, standing still, walking, shooting, and walking and shooting at the same time, in order to be able to determine hipfire accuracy. Running these tests, it quickly became clear to me that attaching the laser sight will always reduce your hipfire spread by 25%, no matter what gun you're using or what state you're in. And while I was at it, I thought I might as well take these tests one step further and try to figure out the movement and shooting accuracy penalty for each gun. Is there a fixed multiplier that applies to all guns to increase the spread when walking or shooting? Of course there isn't. Even though some weapons of the same type handle in the same way, like for example the C8, Type 89 and 552 Commando, others, like the M249 and the 6P41, don't. The general rule of thumb is that smaller weapons like SMGs and pistols have tighter spreads, while larger guns, machine guns, shotguns, DMRs have larger spreads with the gap in between filled by the assault rifles. But as for the multipliers, in the 21 cases I examined, the walking multiplier ranged between 1.88 and 3.17 times the standing still spread. Shooting multipliers were between 2.7 and 7.32, and the shooting plus walking multiplier ranged from 4.6 to 10.05. And to complicate things even more, for some weapons the walking spread was smaller than the full auto shooting spread, while for others it was reversed. The bottom line here is that the spread multipliers can vary widely from gun to gun, but you can trust the targeting reticle, and that's at least something. And now back to the benefit of the laser sight. 25% in spread reduction, that's pretty good. And with the laser sight, it's different than the grips or the muzzle adapters. I mean, for those you always have to make a choice. Do you want one type of benefit or another? There is always an opportunity cost. For the laser sight, there is no such thing. It's either you pick it or you don't. Okay, yes, there's the cost of unlocking it the first time, but come on, you play one game and you've got that. So the only reason that someone might not pick the laser sight is that it makes you more visible to the enemy. But does it though? Let's explore. And actually, I might as well make this discussion a part of the conclusion, so welcome back if you're rejoining us here. The benefit of the laser sight is a 25% reduction in hipfire spread, and I will now take a closer look at the reason why players might not choose to run a laser sight. The laser sight can potentially give your position away in two different ways. Number one, the enemy might spot the reflection of your sight. And number two, if you shine the laser straight into their eyes, they will see a red glow. Who would have thought? Going by the number of comments I've seen on forums as well as in the comments section of my channel, there are a significant number of players who are worried by these factors, but there are a few reasons why I think that this disadvantage is actually much smaller than you think. First off, as I already mentioned in my video on suppressors, Rainbow Six Siege is a game where in most matches, stealth is not really a viable tactic for very long. The noise you make while moving can easily give you away. Both the attackers and defenders have access to remote cameras, plus there are kill cams and players on either team can talk to each other, so keeping your position hidden becomes increasingly difficult as a match progresses. With these factors in mind, I think that any worries about whether or not your laser pointer will get you spotted are already somewhat misplaced. But before I wrap up, let's also consider the two different ways in which the laser can be seen by the enemy. Number 2, they can see the red glow if they're looking at you and you're aiming at their head. This disadvantage, and I'm making air quote gestures here, is completely irrelevant since by the time they realize that you're aiming a laser sight at their head, the kill cam replay will already be starting for them. That is, unless you go full potato just as you're pulling the trigger. And what about number 1, spotting the reflection of your laser? Sure, I guess this could potentially happen, but how likely is it really that in the heat of battle with explosions and gunfire going off all around the place, someone is going to spot a tiny red dot zipping across the wall in front of them? And not only do they need to see the dot, they then need to realize that it belongs to an enemy as opposed to a friend, and then they need to guess your location based on that information, and then take you out. Given all the other, much more reliable methods of detecting enemies in this game, I believe that the chance of you dying because the enemy spotted your laser sight is negligibly low. You need a lot of bad luck for that to happen. So bottom line, my recommendation is use the laser sight. There's really no reason not to, and 25% improvement in hipfire spread can be a real help. And that's it, thanks for watching, and as always, leave a comment below with your thoughts on the
fucking laser sights.
And if you have a story of ever detecting an enemy or being detected because of the laser, feel free to share, I'd love to hear it. As always guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next episode.